All right, so I just got done watching XO19. You guys saw my previous video. This is my follow-up video to the actual conference. I have to say, overall, I thought it was pretty good considering it wasn't a mainstream conference. I was pleasantly surprised with the few announcements I heard, a few announcements I predicted accurately. So let's go through a high-level summary of everything XO19. I am not going to include everything, I guess should be my caveat. There were a lot of filler announcements that I didn't found much value in. This is going to be some of the bigger bullet points. You could see them listed actually below me, and we're going to walk through those, and then I'll give you guys an overall reaction to the press conference as a whole. They started off really strong with the new IP from Rare. We knew that Rare was working on Sea of Thieves, and I think everybody knew that Rare was also doing something else in the background. That something else is called Everwild. We got a very quick cinematic trailer of it. It looks and reminds me a lot of Breath of the Wild. I wonder if the word wild in there was intentionally done. It's got a very similar art style to it. There's an announced trailer. You can check out the video for yourself. I don't want to play it right here because I think like YouTube's probably going to flag me because it's a copyright infringement. But I can tell you guys that Everwild, we don't know much about it. It looks like it's sort of an exploration game. It looks like there's a lot of nature elements. We saw a lot of animals, but we don't know much about it. It is in that Rare art style though. So if you are not a fan of that art style that Rare does, that kind of boxy, cartoony style, you may not like this. But that was cool that they started off the announcement with, the show off with that. I thought that was a great start. Next, we jumped over to Sea of Thieves. We got some cool Sea of Thieves announcement, which I thought we would get something on a Microsoft game that was already existing. I was hoping for more updates, particularly with Gears, but didn't quite see that. We did see the new Sea of Thieves, the Seabound Soul, which will be another Tall Tale that's been added. I still have yet to complete all of these Tall Tales. My friends and I got through number 5 last night, so we still have a ways to go. But they are really a lot of fun. We've been having a blast playing these story-based missions in Sea of Thieves, finally giving the game some much-needed quest and direction. They're also adding some other new things, including flame cannonballs, which I'm really, really excited about. So it's cool to see that Sea of Thieves continues to get love. It makes sense that they would bundle this announcement right after the other announcement to kind of start off the game with what is Rare up to. Next, we got some Project xCloud information. They've now added over 50 games to try out on the service. It's still invitation only. It is still only on Android. They also announced, oddly enough, it's going to be coming to PC next year. Most people probably won't be using this for PC because they'll just be using their actual console. There is already the native Xbox streaming service that is built in if you are on the same network at your house using the Xbox app, linking your Xbox to your home network to your PC. I guess this is for the person who's on the road a lot with a laptop. I'm not really sure. I didn't find that announcement too exciting, just that they are continuing to add more stuff to it. They also said that they are working with a lot of third-party developers to release new accessories. So I assume you will see much more controller brackets and phone brackets and maybe even smaller versions of the controller. They did say that they are working with all Bluetooth partners, and they did call out the PlayStation DualShock 4 specifically to have support. That is very interesting. I don't know yet if the xCloud does Rumble feature or not. It'd be interesting to go back and play some of my Xbox favorite games with the PlayStation controller just to see how different it is, just to see if, how it feels to play Halo on a DualShock 4, for example. I think that would be something that's kind of interesting. So the fact that they're still talking about it is good. It's now slipping a little farther back into 2020. It seems like the date we keep chasing on when this thing's actually going to go live. Still have yet to see any iPhone support, which I think is kind of a big disappointment. Next, we got some news on Halo Reach finally leaving the flights. I have been a member of the flight for some time now. I have gotten to see the game in various forms of completion. Thankfully, all that is done, and on December 3rd, it will finally come out for the PC. Very, very exciting. Everything I hope to be in that game will be in that game. It's now one of the first games that's actually going to launch with Steam. I actually got the announcement on my phone that my wish-listed game and Steam had gone live before the announcement came out. So maybe there's a little bit of the latency in the stream, but that's okay. So we got to see that. Lastly, the big home run announcement to me was the I'm going to go ahead and blow this up so you guys can see it here. This is the Xbox Game Pass 2019 through 2020 roadmap. There are a lot of games, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16 times 3, 48 games that are going to be coming to Game Pass in between now and the rest of the year. You can see across the top there of all the games, whether they're on PC or on console. Age of Empires 2, Rage, Remnant was one that I was really, really excited for. My friend Sid constantly talks about Hearts of Iron. I'll finally get to check that out. There's some other games I haven't really heard of. I was surprised to see that Darksiders 3 was coming so soon. Witcher, I think, is a big grab. We already talked about Halo Reach. My Friend Pedro was something I was interested in. Bleeding Edge we knew was going to come, and it is. Flight Simulator has been confirmed. The slew of Final Fantasy games. Pretty much every Final Fantasy game of the modern era, starting with 7, all the way up 8, 9, 10, all the way through the list. You're also going to get the Yakuza games for the first time coming over from their PlayStation exclusivity. And some other weird games like Superland and Skatebird and Levelhead. I don't know. So you get your random, dribblings of some weird indie games that may be good, may not be good. I don't quite know. But wow, what a big, big, big announcement there. I think that was a phenomenal way to pretty much close out the show. Project Scarlet, I'm just leaving this open just so you guys can see that was something they didn't talk about. I was a little frustrated there. We didn't get any Project Scarlet news. We didn't get any new Gears of War 5 characters. We didn't get any gameplay or any news at all on Halo Infinite. We didn't really see anything else about any Elite controller variants, even though I think that's wishful thinking. We didn't see anything there. And even though they hyped up Crossfire X as the greatest game of our generation, other than a very small cinematic trailer, we really didn't get to see any gameplay on that. They've been hyping that up as a free-to-play game, and I don't know. For them saying it's the greatest shooter of all time, and I talked about Xbox using hyperbole in my last video, how they constantly like to hype this up as the biggest and greatest and best thing of all time. I have never heard of Crossfire X prior to E3 of this year. I have no idea what it was, and I consider myself a pretty big gamer, so either that's me just totally being in the dark and totally missing this, or it's not what I thought it was. You talk about first-person shooters that are big, you're definitely talking about Halo, you're talking about Gears of War, you're talking about Counter-Strike, you're talking about Team Fortress, Quake, Doom. Those are shooters that have defined the generation. Crossfire, and now the upcoming Crossfire X, you're going to have to do a little more to sell me on. I have never heard of that game. But all things considered, considering this was an off press conference, not one of the big, the big E3 announcement, I think XO19 definitely delivered. It was short and sweet, little over an hour and a half runtime. Maybe there's a little bit of filler here and there, but I think they got to some pretty major announcements. I think that Game Pass announcement, kind of buried in the middle there, definitely the big announcement of the entire show. That is a lot of games coming out between now and the end of the year. So on average, you're talking like 2 games a day, which is ridiculous. So if you are not a fan of Game Pass and this did not win you over, you cannot be won over. This is definitely a major announcement for both the console and the PC owners of the Game Pass service. So with that, I'd like to close out this video. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you thought about XO19. Early trends that I've seen on Twitter seem to indicate people generally liked it. Of course, there's going to be their naysayers, but I want to hear from you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Take care of yourselves, and until next time, I will see you guys on the other side.